Carole, let's start
Yes.
with Wes Streeting.
Streeting is going to declare tomorrow. He's hoping he's going to get this by default. Don't think the guy's got any substance. I don't think he's got any courage. He's a wet wipe.
The Labour Party is in full-blown meltdown. Starmer is weak, but he is fighting and begging for his political life.
All the courage now and all the bolshiness is about saving his own sorry backside. Those election results for reform, they were a visceral scream from the British people to say to Starmer, get out.
But someone in Charles's entourage sent a text message to Starmer's people saying, welcome to the Daily Expresso. I'm JJ Anisiobi, but more importantly, this is Carole Malone.
It's good to see you. I'm glad you're not coughing and spluttering this week.
What? The viewers were so concerned. People were messaging us saying, get some vitamin C down you, lad, and some rest.
What you did was you ran away home to your bed with a little cold. And James, over here, he's about to go shortly because you gave it to him.
I know. That's the plan. Get rid of him.
Men can't cope with the cold. Jeez.
Carole, let's start with Wes Streeting. I thought this guy was a coward. I thought he'd gone yellow belly.
I thought he'd bottled it. I really did. I thought he had his chance yesterday, and I thought he'd bottled it because the person he didn't want to be the first to dig the knife in because historically in politics the first one to shove the knife in doesn't get the job, and I do fear it might be the same for Wes here, but. He had a 16-minute meeting with the Prime Minister earlier today, which really was probably less than 10 because by the time you get in through the front door, get told to sit down, get a cup of tea, he literally had minutes. And we were told that Starmer was going to read him a riot act and say, stop plotting against me. But I think what has happened, what is being reported as we speak, is that Streeting is going to declare tomorrow. Now, this is quite crafty in his way because Burnham can't compete with that because Burnham is not even in Parliament. He's not an MP. And Angela Rayner, although she says she's nearly ready, she's not quite ready. Yeah. So she will want to get off the chocks. This is going to take her by surprise. So I think Streeting he's hoping he's going to get this by default. In the same way Starmer won the election by default, Streeting is hoping to be the same, that he's going to be the only runner and rider in the race. That's not going to be the case. And the thing is, if it comes to a proper leadership election and Miliband's in it and Rayner's in it, he's not going to win because the party wants to go farther left. I find this incredible. I talk to a lot of Labour MPs and a lot of people in government, and they really think the reason Starmer has failed is because he's not hard left enough. I mean, this is just so idiotic, it's not true. And you say to them, no, he's failed because he's too hard left for the country and because he's doing the bidding of the hard left in the party, and we can see that. But they don't get it. They live in this bubble where they just don't know what ordinary people are thinking and saying and feeling. And they really believe the answer to Labour's chaos and its problems is to take the party even farther to the left. So imagine that, and we already know Burnham wants more taxes. We already know Rayner wants more taxes, and even better employment laws, not for us, but for the unions. We know the unions today, all 11 of them, have said to Starmer, they've withdrawn their support, said to Starmer, you've got to get out. Now, they will have done that, prompted by Rayner, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
Because they'll have heard that Streeting was going to run tomorrow. So they're all kind of lining up. And while all this is happening, it just, it really upsets me because there's not a single one of the people in government now, or the people plotting, give a stuff about the British people or this country. They're putting their own interests above the interests of the British people. And they were... All of the people now in Starmer's cabinet were the very ones who were saying to Boris when he was in power, you've got it, the country's in chaos, you've got to go, country first, not party first. And here they are dragging us into yet another leadership election, which will take 6 months to play out. It means that the country will be catatonic for 6 months. It means that nothing will get done. Yeah. And again, we're being let down. And we can already see what's happening in the bond markets now. The bond markets are kicking up. They're actually making money much harder to borrow in terms of higher rates. Yeah. Because they fear that Rayner may take over, and if she does, my God, if you got a pension, forget it. The country's bankrupt. So they're walking into this chaos with their eyes wide open, knowing what it's going to do to Britain, and only caring about what this is going to do for them individually. And Streeting is no different. You know, somebody wrote the other day that if there was a woman-only shortlist to campaign to stand for election, that Streeting would don a bra in high heels and stand as a woman. So desperate is he to get the top job. And I believe that's true. I don't think the guy's got any substance. I don't think he's got any courage. You know, he's a wet wipe and who's only interested in himself. So any one of the runners and riders, I mean, Stephen Glover said in the Mail today that, you know, however bad we think it is now, it's going to get 100 times worse. And it is. And I don't know how. I know how the people in government think. That is because they think the answer is to go harder left.
Yeah.
But we are going to be, if we think it's bad now, it's going to get worse. It's interesting. I've just done the Jeremy Vine show this morning, and we had a phone in and people asking people, should he go or stay? And a surprising number said Starmer should stay. And I think it's not because they like him, but because they realise he's an idiot, but they realise that the people who are going to be campaigning for his job are bigger idiots and are going to bring more chaos to the country. So it is interesting that he could, I'm just sensing a little bit of something, that he could hang on to his job again by default. Yeah. Because the runners and riders to take him, they're just not good enough.
Look, the Labour Party is in full-blown meltdown. This is really embarrassing, I think, both for the government and the Labour Party and the country as a whole. Starmer is weak, but he is fighting and begging for his political life.
He's weak, but all this fight, why wasn't he using this fight, we're supposed to say in him now, to stop immigration, to cut the benefits bill, to say to the hard left of his party, get lost, I'm going to lead the country the way I think it should be led. Yeah. But he hasn't done any of that. So I think that all the courage now and all the bolshiness is about saving his own sorry backside. You know, we were told that speech the other day we were going to say, that life-saving speech he was made on Monday, which was supposed to be the make or break speech, which in fact broke him. We were told we're going to say the punishing, fighting Starmer, we're going to see Starmer and his core beliefs. And it was the same damp squib speech as all his other ones are, written by someone else, boring. And someone, I think it was Guido Fawkes, the political organisation, put out a tweet saying that 62% of that speech he made on Monday was taken from his conference speech earlier in the year. So there was nothing new in that speech. And that tells me everything I need to know. You know, if that was him reaching into his inner core and pulling out his fire, well, he pulled it out months ago at the conference. So, and it still didn't resonate with people. You know, I've just heard a load of Labour MPs this morning, you know, talking about Starmer and how we need new leadership and whatever. You know, we've they've forgotten the local elections already. They have, you know, those election results for reform, they were a visceral scream from the British people to say to Starmer, get out, we don't want you anymore. Also, while those wins for reform were a rejection of Starmer, they were also a rejection of a total political class, which has forced its detestable beliefs down our throats for the past 2 years, beliefs which we would not swallow, and because of that we were called racists, we were called transphobes, we were called the far right, we were called Islamophobes. So, you know, all these Labour politicians who are talking today, saying that, you know, Labour just needs a new leader and it'll all be fine. They haven't listened to that visceral scream from the people. You know, the people spoke last Thursday, and this stupid government is still not listening.
Yeah. Well, what about Anisiobi, right? Because it was, 3 months ago? He said, he went and did his big speech up in Scotland saying Starmer has to resign. And people said, why is he saying this now? He's just trying to make headlines. Well, he was ahead of the game and he was right, ultimately.
Well, is he right? You know, I despise Starmer. I think he's the worst Prime Minister we've ever had in this country. I think he's done more damage in 2 years than the Tories did in 14. However, when I see what's there to replace him, there's a part of me says he should stay. I think he's hopeless. I think the country nothing will be achieved in this country with him in power. But I think the other lot are going to take us further down the toilet. And by the time they're kicked out, no party, whichever party takes over, is not going to be able to dig us out of that hole.
Yeah.
And that is the problem, I think, for a lot of people. So in my head, there's a little bit of me that thinks, I kind of hope he stays, but not because I think he's good. I think he's shocking. Farage, interestingly, funnily said the other day, he didn't want Starmer to go. He said he's our best weapon. He says he's the reason we've just won all these council seats.
Yeah.
So there's that. But whoever takes over from Starmer, Stephen Glover said it today, it's going to be hated twice as much as Starmer is now, because they are not going to bring peace to this country. They're going to bring chaos. Markets are going to collapse. People are going to be broke. They're going to be taxed to hell and back. It's, people out there can't conceive what's coming if Burnham or Rayner get in. Streeting is going to be Starmer Mark II. He won't have the guts to take the left on, or the unions, and they don't want him anyway because they see him as too far on the right, can you believe? And we've already seen he's achieved nothing in the health service. I mean, he's done absolutely nothing. He put out a statement the other day saying waiting lists have gone down. Yeah, after you massage them, matey. After they've done a little bit of AI work on them. Yes.
Well, the King's speech should be happening whilst you're recording this episode.
Yes.
Apparently, somewhere, it wasn't King Charles himself, but someone in Charles's entourage sent a text message to Starmer's people saying, is there any point in us going ahead with the King's speech today? Because we don't want to get drawn into this political, what's the word I'm looking for? Mess? Political rook mess. And is Starmer going to be able to deliver these things if he's not even going to be in power?
And yes, I can absolutely see from their point of view that is the case. But we can't disrupt tradition, ceremony, the way things work in this country just because a bunch of Labour politicians can't get their act together. Yes, I don't think the King will be the vaguest bit embarrassed. He's going to do what every monarch has done for decades. He's going to read out the wish list of the government. And we know that they're going to be talking about welfare. They're going to be talking about immigration reforms. They're going to be talking about the number of people who are on benefits. That's all going to go out. So it has to be done. I don't think there's a choice. If every time a bunch of politicians were calling for a new prime minister,
yeah, true,
the King would do nothing. Nothing would happen. Nothing would happen anyway. So I think we've got to carry on regardless. It could all be chucked out the window in a few days' time. It's interesting, that the talk this morning. I mean, all day yesterday Monday when it first happened, when everyone started to turn against him and the MP started to put their name on the list. Starmer had apparently, and this is the inside track from Dan Hodges, who writes for the Mail, who has a lot of good contacts. He was saying that Starmer had decided on Monday he would go. He said to people, help me make an orderly, dignified exit. And he did that after Shabana Mahmood spoke to him in Cabinet, and I think it was Yvette Cooper. But then later in the day, Shabana Mahmood started boasting on the outside, which was picked up by the press, and it was supposed to be that she had persuaded him to go. And then he said, stuff it, I'm staying. And if that is the case, that just shows you what we're dealing with here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A man who knows he should go, a man who knows he's lost the people. But because one of his ministers boasted that she persuaded him to go, he says, well, I'm not going to go, like a little toddler in the nursery, stamping his feet on the nursery floor. I'm staying. So now it's going to be dirty, it's going to be ugly, and it's going to drag on for months.
Maybe this is what we need. Maybe this is what Starmer needed. He needed this kick up the backside to give him the fire back in his belly, and now he's going to come out swinging.
He hasn't got any fire in his belly. There's no fire in his belly. Monday was his chance to show us the fire in his belly. And that speech he made was, as I say, there was no new policies in that speech. All there was more visions, and nothing about how he was going to make those visions happen.
He's going to nationalise British Steel.
Well,
isn't that enough?
We've kind of already half taken over British Steel anyway. I mean, that's just a rubber stamp. That's going to be in the King's Speech, where he's going to give the government the formal powers to take British Steel. We kind of already have. I mean, that is important. It's very important. I'd like to know what he's going to say about immigration, because, we'll all be hanging on tenterhooks for that one.
Yeah.
Because it's not, whatever it is, it's not going to stop the boats, and it's not going to say to France, you're not getting any more money, and it's not going to say we're sending the Royal Navy into the Channel to stop people coming.
Yeah.
Which actually, if he did that could save Starmer. If he said tomorrow, I'm sending the Royal Navy out, no one's coming into this country, everyone will go, wow, yeah. This is good. But he won't.
Yeah.
Because he's a wimp. And that's the problem. We've got, he always was a manager, not a leader. And had the Tories not been as terrible as they were, Labour would never have got in. But his unique talent in these 2 years has been, he had the goodwill of a nation in the palm of his hand, and he spaffed it up the wall in a very short period of time. And it takes a real talent to do that in 2 years, to make an entire nation who was loving you and was prepared to give you every chance going, to actually just to the point where they're screaming, get out after just 2 years. And Labour MPs still haven't got what happened last Thursday. They still don't get it.
Yeah.
They think if they just, shift the deck chairs on the Titanic, that it will all be better. And it's going to be catastrophically worse.
Well, speaking of someone who has spaffed it up the wall,
yes,
Zack Polanski.
I love talking about Zack Polanski. I do, and I love the fact he's now being exposed for the numpty that he is. This latest lie, he's been caught out, and I think there's been 4 or 5 now. But this latest lie, he was confronted earlier in the week about not having paid council tax on this boat he lived on. Well, he said he didn't live on the boat, didn't he? He said he just collected mail from the area. And what he forgot was he'd been posting pictures for the last 3 years going, our fantastic home, look at our fantastic home, this boat. So it now turns out he probably owes about $4,000 in council tax. His argument is that he, what was the word he used? He said
it was an unintentional mistake.
An unintentional. How can you not know you've got to pay council tax? How can you not know that? Now what's going to happen is, of course, the media who are chasing him big time now, because it's so easy to catch him out on his lies. They're now going to find out where he's been paying council tax, if he has, for the past 4 or 5 years. And if he hasn't, that's going to be something else you'll have to justify. But I think that, as time's going on, the party will be discredited thanks to him. There'll actually be a leadership battle within the Greens in a year's time, and that deputy, the guy who's always at the who's always at the Palestine demonstration, he will probably be the next leader of the Greens party. So there you go. But Polanski is apparently now staying in a £2 million house. So he's doing not too bad about it.
Doing all right, isn't he?
Yeah. But, it just shows that politicians, they just lie as easily as they breathe. And it shows what a fool he is not to imagine that if you keep on shoving your face into the public spotlight, that the media are gonna take that and rub your face in the spotlight. And all the lies you've told and all the stupid things you've done, they're going to come out.
Do you think he should resign as the leader of the Greens?
Oh, I think he should never have been made leader of the Labour Party. Been made leader of the Greens Party. Because, the guy's a grifter. He, for years, he's never had a proper career. He's worked in bars. He's swept up in theatres. He said he was a member of the Hypnotherapy Society, which he isn't, but nonetheless he was still hypnotising women into believing they could think their breasts bigger. What else has he done? That he's had a series of dead end jobs. What's that phrase where you say jack of all trades, master of none? And that is him. And then he fell into politics. And he was telling me a story once about how it was Paddy, who was the Liberal Democrat leader? Paddy Ashdown, who had said to him, had heard him at some kind of rally, and it was Paddy Ashdown who said to him, "You're good at this. You should do this for a living." And I think that's what did it. And I loved Paddy Ashdown.
He is fantastic.
I thought he was the most amazing. Yeah. This is a mistake on his part all those years ago. Huge mistake. Yeah, he was one of the most impressive politicians I've ever met, Paddy Ashdown.
Yeah.
But he got him wrong, big time wrong.
But Polanski was one of the voices calling for Raina to lose her job when she was
of course
involved in tax.
In her little tax kerfuffle where she didn't pay 40 grand of stamp duty. So on that basis, you would think that if he was a man of principle,
that's it.
He would resign too. Because, you know, when you say to the electorate, who all have to pay their council tax, when you say to the electorate, you know, it was an inadvertent mistake, they're laughing at you. They're going, it's not inadvertent, and no one should care if it's inadvertent. You should still be prosecuted because ignorance is no defence.
Correct.
You should know if you're living aboard anything or in a house, you got to pay council tax.
Yeah. All right. Well, Polanski, you heard it here. Carole says you've got to go, mate.
Oh, I'd love to talk to him again. I so would.
Carole, we're done. Thank you
we
so
done?
much.
Oh, that was quick. I felt that was just one big rant on my part.
No, it was quick. I'm always nice and fast.
Yeah. So we've heard.
Well, thank you, Carole.
Oh, dear.
And thank you for watching.
You just land yourself in it every week. Every woman you've ever been out with now is going to be contacting us saying, yeah,
fact.
he is.
Well, leave your comments below. Not if you're one of the exes.
I think so. Please, girls, leave the comments.
Like, share, subscribe, and hit the hype button. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.